here's my scene, and I'm going to render this out just as a still image. Now, I can just use the render view because I'm just doing a still image rather than the batch render view. And if I render that still image, oops, I'm using the wrong camera there. So I'll change that to render, where is it? Render, I think it's perspective 1. And I'm after, there we go. So there's the camera. And I'm using sRGB gamma conversion on that image. So if I turn that off, it looks like this. It's super dark. But I want the gamma conversion. So sRGB, I'll leave that on. And so to save that file, we'll go save and just make sure in the options I've got color managed image. So view transformation enabled. So the view transformation refers to this. So that's been enabled and I want to save it with that transformation. So I'll go save image. And I will save it just as a JPEG or a PNG, which will save out just an 8-bit image. I'll save it as render 4, like so. All right, so that image is saved. Now, just to make this image look a little bit better, what I'm going to do is just go into Arnold Render View. I'll just close that window down. I'm going to go to Arnold Renderer, Render Viewer, and I'm just going to render out a quick, let me see if I can bring this in a little bit, render out a quick AO or ambient occlusion render. So by doing this, I can actually combine the ambient occlusion render from Arnold onto my hardware 2.0. And the benefit of doing that is that we're going to get all these contact shadows, little bits of information. Oh, look, I've made it float. Let's ignore that. Oh no, let's fix it. Come on. Got to fix it. Okay, so let's go back into perspective. Yeah, if you notice, my candle is floating. So we'll just go up in the hierarchy, the up arrow, and then just drag it down. It's a bit laggy, so I'm just going to turn off my materials and textures because I think it's trying to update the lighting as I do it. And yeah, so that looks good. All right, so now I have to re-render. So I'll go into my render view. I'll re-render that frame out. There we go. I'll save that image. So when you do save it, you do have the same option over on the far right. Color manage, view color managed enabled. So just make sure that's active, and I'll save over my version 4, and that's good to go. So let's go back now to Arnold. And yeah, that's already rendering. So let that go. It will just take a little while. But what we'll get is these really nice contact shadows. especially around. They're not really shadows. It's just they look like shadows. And yeah, you get anything around detail. You get sort of a dark shadow, so it looks like an ambient shadow. So it works quite well. Let that go. Even things like just the underneath of the box here. So that's really quite dark. So just while that's finishing rendering, I'll open up Photoshop. All right, I'll just, I'm doing that. In the Discord, I will post the stream. If anyone's interested, I'll put it in the chat here as well. And let's open these images inside of Photoshop and edit them together. Okay, so there's my AO at A3, and into the save options, and you can see apply color management, 8-bit images only. So we'll go apply gamma exposure, same. And if we go save image, because we're saving out as an 8-bit image like a JPEG or a PNG, then we get the same. Now let me see. It's number 4. And I'll just say AO. Okay. So now that that's done, let's just turn off the final renderer. Pause on there, come out of there, and I'll open up my image. And so I need to open up both images. Where am I? Premiere. Whoops. Program. Okay. Open it up. All right. So I need render 4 and the AO render, which is this one here. So both those. So I'll open those 2 files up. There we go. And so what I can do is with this AO, I just Control A to select all, and then Control C to copy it, and then come over to my other image and Control V to paste it on top. So once I've pasted it on top, I can just change the overlay to say multiply. And then, so what I get is these really nice contact shadows. So you can see under the box there how it looks like, really cool. If I turn it off, you can see what it looks like. And if I turn it on, it just does that. So it does a really nice job of doing that. So some other things that we can do in regards to some Photoshop manipulation or post-production The first thing you could do is to increase the contrast of the image. So make the darker areas dark and the lighter areas light. So to do that, you're going to use the curves, adjustment layers. And this curve represents a linear line of all the values from dark to light. So if I move the middle of the curve up, then it's going to become more light. Or if I move it down, it's going to become more dark. So what we can do is move it down at the darks, so make the darks really dark, okay? And then take the lights and move them up. So it creates more contrast in the image. I think that's a bit overly done. So and this is referred to as an S-curve. And okay, that looks pretty good. So you just do it subtly. If you want to get rid of these points, you can just drag them off out the window if you need to. So that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. Some of the other things is like maybe I want to make the top darker. So I could put exposure on and I can make it all dark and then go into the layer mask of the exposure. And if I grab myself a gradient tool, I can then put a gradient on to make areas lighter and darker. So it's kind of like relighting the scene a bit. So I'm just going to do something like that. That looks pretty good. I might even put another one on top, make it really dark, and then have like light coming from the side, something like that. That looks, I like that. Vignetting. Vignetting is where you have like a sort of dark shadow around the edges by some particular photography lenses. So if I want to sort of emulate that, I could make it really dark in the middle, change my gradient, go into my layer mask, and do something like that. Make it rather big. Looks okay, but it's probably a bit too. Oh yeah, let's leave it. It's fine. And yeah, maybe you can go in, make everything a little bit lighter on top of that. Some of the things I like to do as well is I like to chuck on these photo filters. So these photo filters just make everything like super warm. So what I can do again, take that layer mask and edit so that, let's go back to a gradient, so that it's just warm where the white area is in the mask and the black area it's dark. Let me just get rid of that main window. So yeah, just the layer masks here. And you can see how that's sort of manipulating the mask. So I've got ray of light coming in from left side, and it's kind of like a warm light. So I'm manipulating the light values again. But yeah, the other trick I do is I'll put another photo filter on top, and this time I'll use a cool filter, and I'll make that into the shadows. So doing the opposite gradient. So it just produces a bit more contrast and so forth. So it's just little things like this that you can do to your scene. You could even go into hue saturation, make it more saturated or desaturated, depending on the look you're going for. Maybe I'll make it a little bit more saturated so it's a bit more obvious what's going on. You could put text in it. You could put images on top of it. It's up to you. Just remember, you're trying to add value. Okay, so nothing that's going to detract from it. If you're going to use text, make sure it's a really good, graphically designed layout and font selection and so forth. So I'd rather have no text in there than the text done, not at the highest degree. So, that's basically it. If I go into my history, where's my history? The gradient. So Ali, what was that? Sorry. You got your
I was
mic?
saying like another good adjustment could be to use a gradient map.
Yep. Just onto the.
Uh,
Yeah. So how do you use the gradient map?
So essentially, the darker color, so the black in this case will be on the darker areas, and the lighter colors will be on the lighter areas. So if you use soft light, so if you click on that gradient on the top there,
Yep.
just the actual where it says gradient mapping properties, click on the actual gradient,
Yep.
on the gradient itself. Yeah. So
Okay. Yep.
so if you go down to your gradients, so if you go down, I'm not sure if you have any saved, like I do.
Okay. You've got particular one saved. Oh,
Yeah, so
nice.
you can, so for example, if you change the color black to navy blue in the
Yep.
actual gradient, so if you go down, yeah, if you go back to the black and white gradient, yeah, just change the color to like a navy blue, I say, yeah, like that. And then hit press OK, and then the other one to yellow, like a darker yellow, not very light, yeah, something like that.
Yep.
So press OK. There's get rid of the white in the middle. Okay, so now if you go on soft light in the blending mode, normal, this is normal, soft
Yep.
light.
Stuff light. Okay. Yep.
You see, it adds like a
Oh
adjustment
yeah.
to.
Nice.
You can change the colors as well.
Yep. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, no, I've never done that, so that's cool.
Yeah, they use it a lot in posters, and I do a lot of in composites, Photoshop composites.
Yep.
Mhm.
So yeah, the gradient map. That's cool. Yeah, sort of similar to a couple of things I'm doing down there, but yeah, it's a different technique. So yeah, that's good. Yeah, and if we go up here, and I'll just take a new snapshot, we can see the difference. So here's the start, and then here's at the end. So just a few different adjustments. I might put another, get it all brighter so it's a bit more obvious. New snapshot. Oops. Get rid of that snapshot, and I'll save this snapshot. So the snapshots just mean you can go back to that state at any time. So yeah, there we go. And yeah, and then we just save it out as a PNG or a JPEG. It's up to you. Just go PNG, and that's it. So that's the 8-bit workflow, which is